Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's go over a premium hard question in the database category that I just solved on my own. So I'm super happy about this and I'm extremely glad that I was able to come up with my own solution to this question without any assistance. So let's go over it and let me show you how I did it. This is 1635 Hopper Company Queries 1. So basically you want to compute statistics for each month of 2020. Looking at the examples is probably easier. So for each month from 1 to 12, you want to compute the number of active drivers and the number of accepted rides. So active drivers just means how many drivers are currently active in terms of this table. So from accumulating sum in terms of the join date that needs to be ordered. So for 1, for example, 2021, that would be 2 because you can see this is already sorted, but we can't assume that. And 3, and then 4. So 2, 3, 4, just to check our work. 2, 3, 4. So we're on the right track there. 5 is also 4, or 5 is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the interesting thing is with the missing gaps, we need to be able to fill them. So for example, 4 is not here, but 4 would still be 4 because 3 was 4, and that was the previous one, if you can see here. So let's first take care of this active drivers column and then worry about the accepted rides. So let's do that. Let's get this join date mapped to the driver ID. Let's call this months. Is going to be a dictionary, and for, well, let's actually just make it a list so we can sort it easily. For I, driver, and enumerate drivers, join dates. So we're going to append the driver and then the driver's driver ID of I. And then we're going to sort this x of 0, so we get the driver date. Let's call this driver date. I'm going to make a habit from now on to use better variable names. So let's print months. Okay, cool. So there we go. So this is sorted, and now we can just go with an accumulating sum. So basically, what we're going to do is for each date, we're going to keep adding. So, okay, so this is not sorted though. Let's see here. Is it sorted? Oh, it is sorted. Okay. So for example, for here, the answer would be 2. So we need to get that. And okay, so for, let's call this dates, just making sure it doesn't overlap with any other variables. Dates and driver ID in months. Let's go ahead and maybe store this in a dictionary. So let's call this active drivers, default dictive type integer. So, okay, how do we do the accumulating sum? Well, we only really care about months in 2020, but what we're going to do actually is to just go from left to right, keep appending everything, and then once we get to a month in 2020, seeing this, then we can just go ahead and actually record the counts. So let's call this now. Let's call this driver, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, driver state. So driver state dot append driver ID. And then, okay, so let's parse this date. Let's call this parse date is string of date dot split of 0 up to 7, because that's actually the part we care about, because we don't care about the days, we only care about the years. Okay, so if, let's call this, the year is parse date dot split by this dash divided by this, and then we want the 0th, so it's going to make this into a list. So if the year is equal to 2020, now we actually care, and we can say we want to print the parse date and then also driver state. And we probably want to make a shallow copy of driver state. Okay, so let's see. So 2, 3, 4. Cool. So that's what I'm talking about in the gaps. You can see there's no 4. So we're going to have to take care of that by using 3 as 4's value. But, okay, this gives us a good template to work off of. And let's go ahead and put this into active drivers. And we're just going to do a default dict or just a regular dictionary. So we can just say active drivers parse date is equal to driver state.copy, right? Because we want to, this list is going to be continually modified, right? So now let's loop over. Let's say for driver in active drivers. Let's actually print the driver and active drivers driver. So now we actually have to take care of the gaps. So let's get all months of year. Let's just do this manually. I know it's not the best way to do it, but that's the way I did it. So 02, 2020, 03, all the way to 12, right? So February, May, June, July, August, etc. Cool. So now, basically what we want to do is actually loop over for cur in months of year. So if the current is not in active drivers, then let's actually print the current. Otherwise, let's print current active drivers cur. Just for now. Okay, so now you can visualize this better. And you can see that this chunk is also filled up with the length of 5s. So that tells you what you need to know. So in that case, if it's not inside of it, then let's actually do a... So the sorted dates is just going to be sorted months of year. Well, it's just going to be sorted. Actually, we can just use months of year. It's already sorted. So in that case, we can just say a binary search on months of year in terms of the current. And let's print BL. And let's also print months of year. So you can see 4, we're looking for 0, 1, 2, 3, and then -1, because 4, that's where the insort is supposed to be placed for 4. For example, 4 was 0, 1, 2, 3, that's where it would be placed, but since 4 is not in here, that's the one we want. And in that case, let's go ahead and make a, let's say gaps filled is a dictionary. And then we can just say if BL is bigger than or equal to 0 and BL is less than length of months of year, because it might go out of bounds. And then we can just say gaps filled of the current month is equal to whatever the size was, which is actually, let's call this keys, because, and then let's do active drivers. Sorted active drivers dot keys, because this is what we're actually looking for, because we don't have the months of years, so that's what we're actually trying to fill. So that's actually going to be correct. And let's call this active drivers BL. Oh, sorry, for keys. So now, again, we have the position that we need to be. So if we're looking to fill 4, we're just going to use the one from 3012. Okay, so then in that case, cur is just going to be the size, which is length of keys BL. Otherwise, there's nothing to do. If it's like 1 and there's nothing before it, then we just say gaps filled, cur is equal to 0. Okay, so now we can go ahead and, well, in that case, if it's there, then gaps filled of cur is equal to length of active drivers cur. Okay, so now let's go ahead and print gaps filled. Okay, so, okay, 1 is 2, 3, 4. 4 is 7. No, that's not correct. Okay, so let's print active drivers again. Okay, so for 7, 7's not there, so it's supposed to be 5. Why is 4 7? And then cur. Yep, that's correct. So length of keys BL. No, length of active drivers of keys BL. Right? So that looks, yeah, okay. 5 is 5, 5, 5. Cool. Because this is the value from the missing list, and then the one that's actually in the missing list, and then back to the list it's actually in, which is the one right beforehand. So 3, for example. Okay, so that's what the binary search does. Okay, so now we can move on to the accepted rides. Let's go ahead and submit this just so we don't lose our work. Okay, so let's run this again without all the print statements. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. So to find the accepted rides, we need to go over each month again. So for G and gaps filled. And then we need to go over this column. For I, R enumerate rides requested at. So again, this is the full dates. Let's print R just to make sure. So parsed date is, let's just see, string R dot split 0 up to 7. So if G is equal to parsed, then we can go ahead and also just say the ride ID and the user ID. So if, so RID, UID, rides, ride ID of I. So for example, for here, we're looking at this now, this cell, and then rides user ID of I. And then if the ride ID is inside of accepted rides, ride ID as a list. Then let's go ahead and just print G, right? Because that's going to be how many times it appears. So you can see 3 appears once. The frequencies, this appears twice, so we're good to go. So then we can just say, let's call this count. So count of G plus equals to 1. Okay. So now we're pretty much good to go because we can just say for G and gaps filled, let's print G, gaps filled, gaps filled G, and then also the count of G. So that should give us everything we need. Okay, cool. So that lines up perfectly. Now we just need to parse the dates. So let's call this num is string G dot split dash of 1 and then to an integer G split of 1. So let's print num. String G or just G dot split. Oh, by this. Okay, cool. So now we have the numbers as well, and then we can just say, let's create an answer list. And we can say answer.append num gaps filled G count of G, and then just go ahead and print answer one last time, create a data frame, throw that in there, and we're good to go. So cool, you can see each row here. So now data frame month A, active drivers, accepted rides. Let's call this B and C. We're just going to create for each column, each one list. A, B, C. And let's run this. Okay, submit it. And there you go, passes all test cases. So again, I'm super happy that I was able to come up with my own solution to this question without any help and solve it completely on my own. So that's it for this video, and thank you for watching.